I'm experiencing something, I'd really like to know what it is. Like, I don't want to be coughing all the time, and then somebody, when I die, says, you know, she was living in a highly polluted area, but we knew, but we didn't tell her. We thought it would depress her. It would make her not feel like she could really make it in the... I'm like, well, I'm definitely not going to make it if I don't know what's actually going on right in front of me. So how do we tell that story in a way that's empowering? How do we give young people and their parents and families and communities and allies a sense that this is empowerment, not depression and, you know, and sort of crushing information? So for me, systems are the way, are the problem, and they're the solution. Thank goodness for that. So if you have a system, so you know, I'm saying systemic racism, housing discrimination reduces equity, significantly reduces equity and value. That, coupled with segregation and funding schools with property taxes, which very few countries in the world do, means that you're compounding, right? That's that intersection, boom, and you're making it bigger and stronger. So now, over time, that thing gets bigger and bigger, right? So what if we did something in the reverse? What if we looked at all of these supramuscular leverage points, right, that are these interconnections, and we said, let's take one of these and imagine that the goal is justice. How would you, what would you do, and then how would you replicate it consistently for long enough that it would have a justice effect, a fairness effect, right? The other thing that I love about this is that it's also asking people to develop a new way of thinking. And that is, you know, shifting from one at a time racist is racist, finding a racist, what do I call it, like whack-a-mole, it's like whack-a-racist, you know. They pop up in a thing, you're like, bam, you know, it's like, we won, and then you find another. It's like, you know, it might be entertaining, but it's not gonna win. But so rather than a whack-a-mole paradigm, which is we find these individuals who are destroying our successful racial equity life, you say to yourself, okay, in the course of history, this is not that long for us to get very far. We've been resisting it a long time. How do we really acknowledge that, build camaraderie, but tell the story in a way that tells the truth, but doesn't get into some massively accusatory waste of energy, which is the way I see that. And then you say, okay, how do I tell the story? And then you invite people to have this paradigm shift, which is basically taking all the information you have and choosing a story that goes with that information. Changing your paradigm is looking at all the same information and choosing a different story. So people see all this information and they say it's Black culture. Darren Wilson went on a tear. I started out at the bottom, just like, you know, he did. And so the journalist is like, well, is that really true? Yeah, and then I worked my way up. And I'm like, oh, well, there's 175 articles that show that you and Mike Brown would not have the same experience going in for the same job with the same level of knowledge. It's not gonna happen. So you're telling me a fiction. So that, getting the paradigm that I'm asking you to think about and asking everyone to consider is to account for those documented differences so that we can be honest about them and not get caught up in, you know, just imagining that fixing it one at a time and not addressing these issues is going to make it. So for me, that's very inspiring.